Hey, what's up? I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower with the latest retro. We got a couple extra people here today, not extra like that, but good people here to talk about a fantastic game that has been dominating the competitive miniatures market for the last several years here. This is Star Wars X-Wing, but actually it doesn't even say it on here at all. This is second edition. They're kind of cagey about that, but the fact is it's second edition, and we're going to talk today about what changes in second edition, all the different stuff. This is Andy. This is BJ.
What's up?
Both of them are way better than me, and by way better I mean like they play much better and more than me because I'm terrible and I don't fly that often enough at all. It's been a long time since I played, but I love the game. I love what it looks like. I love what it does. And today, though, we're going to take a look right now at what makes 2.0 different. Should you upgrade? Spoiler, you pretty much have to. If you're going to keep playing the game and what all it brings to the table. So let's take a look right now at what it does, and we'll come back up and talk about everything else. So, first things first, what is the biggest difference? I'm going to go to both of you. What would you say the biggest difference is in 2.0 versus 1.0? Who's first? You can go first, Andy.
I just have to say, everything's more evened out. 1.0 had a big issue of they would release ships, and as new waves came out, dials were better, actions were better, abilities were better. And with 2.0, they've basically taken all of that over from scratch for every ship in the game, and it's a lot more balanced.
So it kind of nullifies power creep in the sense that you can't have power creep if everything starts over fresh. So are all the dials brand new?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Well, one of the main things I think is when the game first came out, I don't think they expected it to get nearly as big as it's gotten.
And then Disney bought. That helps too.
And so when it was designed, the core set and all the basics, it was designed as a simple game. And then as it got bigger and bigger, they started introducing all these, like Andy said, new ships and new abilities and new things, which kind of left the old stuff behind. And like he said, it's kind of balanced. I think the game in itself is just cleaner. Movement, they've specified when things can be done, how many times things can be done. I think the game in itself is just, as he said, more balanced and just a lot cleaner.
Good stuff.
I just think, with starting over, the game's called Star Wars X-Wing, and in 1.0,
Nobody flew X-Wing.
No one flew an X-Wing.
That's right.
But just because it was the first ship that came out, and the dial was bad, the actions were bad, comparatively, and it's just a lot cleaner.
Should have been called Star Wars Obscure Extended Universe Ship.
Yes.
That's what it should have been. I mean, really.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the big point of contention that could be great or could be something that people hate later on in the game. Let's talk about the fact that in all these cards here, and by the way, they're bigger cards. We got rid of all the little tiny cards, just kind of a good thing for, and also a bad thing because they don't fit in people's sleeves anymore. So they had to get bigger sleeves.
Yeah.
But notice that there's no point cost anywhere in the game. Period. There's no. Am I right? No point cost anywhere.
You will not find point costs on any card.
And why is that?
Basically for competitive balancing. Like I said, they didn't expect it to get as big as it did, and when it's basically one of the most, probably the highest grossing miniatures war game out on the market right now. And because of that, it has a huge competitive community, and so the no point cost is so they can control that with
this right here, the app. Now this is interesting to me. There's an app here, new squad, save squad, my collection, card database updates. The whole point of this is you log in here, you put what ships you own, right? Basically you punch in everything like that. And you say, hey, I want to build a scum list or I want to build an empire list. Well, everything's listed in here. And if they, for instance, came to a tournament, right, where one ship is getting played and it was overpowered, instead of having to release a card in the next wave of ships, they could just go in and tweak the point cost in the app, right?
Absolutely.
Which is pretty smart if you ask me. I mean, I like the idea of that. Now, will it work long term? Will people complain about it? Of course people are going to complain about it. They literally will complain. They're already complaining about the fact there's an app. But that's because apps can be contentious. But think about Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. People were like, I don't want games mixing in with my games, which is a weird sentence in the first place, but I don't want apps mixing in with my games. And then you play Mansions for a long time, or Detective, and you go, this is ridiculously cool how this works. So the app is there. It does all that. It keeps track of your collection. it might make things a little bit wonky sometimes, where instead of you just go, oh, let me try this, you have to actually go in and what was it, the thing where some ships were coming out and they weren't in there, you couldn't like pre-build?
Well, the plan is for they're going to control which ships are competitively used in certain game modes. They're going to release all kinds of different game modes.
Oh.
And so, just announced, I think it was last weekend.
I think so.
That they announced that was the plan. If they felt like a ship was way too powerful, they could just nix it from competitive play for a few months and make tweaks through play testing and so on, and eventually bring it back in. So they're going to have these different versions of the game that you can play that they're going to put in, and you're going to be able to use certain ships in certain versions and stuff like that. So they're gonna do a whole lot of tweaking. I think they announced 6 months. Every 6 months they're going to do a tweak.
Well, I like that because like when we play Imperial Assault too, the downside of like Han and Luke and Chewie and Darth Vader, for instance, all 4 of those characters were characters that they're iconic. You want to see them on the table, but they weren't great up front because of the way things got later. So instead, they had to release a card to come with it in a separate set. Well, for budget, let's talk budget for a minute. You could play with just the core set, but obviously you're going to have to get more things in it, and which I brought these guys. They have a bigger collection, but I wanted to show you kind of what comes in the core set too, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But first of all, you get it's right here actually. You get the X-Wing, you get the 2 TIE fighters. Also, let's show you this. Yes, that's right. The foils go up there, and there's some actual thematic and gameplay advantage to that. So when you put the foils up, like I'm probably going to people will be like, it's not foils, it's called this or whatever. But when you put those up, you can do certain things that you can't do when they're down, right? So
correct.
I think that's cool. Just people like to see that. So, but anyway, back to what I was saying. So instead of having to go, well, crud, I got to buy an Ewok Adventurer pack just to make my Luke Skywalker better. We don't have to do that anymore because it's all in the app. So, any final thoughts on the app? What good, bad, up?
It's got very good intentions.
Yeah. That sounds good.
It feels a little rushed. As a matter of fact, it definitely was a little rushed.
Yes.
Hopefully it will get better.
Yeah.
There are some third-party apps that I think most everybody are using at
Most
this time.
everyone's using third-party apps.
Which is exactly what you don't want to see.
Yeah, no, I mean...
It's good. I mean, it's the... where you get your point costs. It drives the point cost for everything, for use in those third-party apps. But it can be cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it will be. I think it will be. I mean, it's Fantasy Flight, so...
Yeah, they do a good job of that. So what do we have here? We got some ships here. So what's different on this ship card versus an old ship card? Besides just look. It's cleaned up the look, first of all.
So, you want to take Luke Skywalker? You want to take the Rebel, since you started out as a Rebel player?
I did start as a Rebel
And then
player.
you came over to the dark side with me?
All right,
And then everybody got scammed, right?
so I'm talking about just...
Yeah, what's different about it? What do you
different-
like? What do you not like about the new cards?
So just in general, overall mechanics of gameplay, pilot skill was 1 to 10.
Let me see that.
It was 1 to 9.
1 to
9,
and
yeah.
you had an ability,
You had an ability to,
to,
go,
bump it to 10.
to bump it
to
up.
bump it to 10.
This is
They-
supposed to be here, right?
So and there were ways to even but they've cleaned it up so that you are 1 to 6 is all you have as far as pilot skill.
yeah,
goes.
that's right. I remember that's right.
Initiative is what they
Initiative.
call it now.
Yes. Actions are cleaner. The Rebel ships don't or the Luke Skywalker ship doesn't have linked actions. I think that's a very cool mechanic they've added to the game.
Yeah, we'll talk about what linked actions is in a minute, because I want to know what that is. I mean, I know what it is, but I want them to know exactly what it is. If you can get into it, go ahead, sir.
Luke's ability, or specifically the Luke card, is a Force user card.
That's cool.
So that gives him the ability to have specific upgrades that are Force specific upgrades that he is allowed to spend specific tokens in order to achieve the effect on the upgrade card, or he can just use them as a dice modifier.
That's good. I like that. I like the idea that it helps be more thematic too. Where
And that's one of my favorite new components of the game. It's Force users. They can't take the same elite pilot talent or EPT as most pilots, but they have, as any pilot, actually, they don't even have the slot, but they have the force-sensitive abilities, which are very good.
It's cool too. Like I say, you're not playing Wings of War. What's the other one? You're playing Star Wars. So having the Force ability is great for
absolutely,
Star Wars.
Absolutely. And it doesn't just stop with the Force users that you know, like Luke and Vader. I mean, there's as
I mentioned somebody like Kanan or some of those people coming. Yeah.
Kanan, Ezra.
Yeah.
From Rebels.
Grand Inquisitor.
Grand Inquisitor. I mean, there's several Force users. Maul is in the game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And eventually Maul is going to be a pilot. But I really like the Force mechanic because, like Andy said, it can be used for certain abilities. It can be used to just regularly modify dice. But the best part about it is you get them back. I mean, they don't run out of force.
That's not like a missile. You use it and it's done.
I mean, you may use all of them in one round,
right.
But at the end of that round, you're going to get
nice.
The ability to do it again. So it really makes the Force users a lot more thematic, and that's one of my favorite parts of the game. Is because I love Darth Vader, and Darth Vader crew is very, very good.
Oh, that's true.
So one of the other things they've done is charges, which I think are very good. So those are in 1.0 you would have abilities, and it could be anything from shooting a missile to dropping a bomb to just specific pilot abilities,
right.
And that they've added charges which may or may not be able to be regenerated, but they work similarly to the Force ability, where that you are spending those in order to achieve that ability.
Is that a new token?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And we'll look at all that real quick in a little bit too. The components, if you could. Sorry.
But that's also another cleaner way to do it. For some of the actions, such as in 1.0 was regen, so that where you could gain shields back. They've cleaned that up, so regen is only a specific number of times that you're able to do.
Regen is a charged thing now, where you can you get instead of infinite regen, you get. Is that what you're saying?
Here's an example. We've got R2D2 crew card. He's got the 3 charges over here.
In
1.0. Anytime you performed a green maneuver, which also has been changed.
Yeah, they're blue now.
Yeah, they're blue. Anytime you performed a green maneuver, you got to regen a shield. So, Luke Skywalker, Poe Dameron, all those guys could just continue doing green maneuvers and
constantly getting
shields back. So his new card has 3 charges on it, and which essentially means you can only use it 3 times, and then once it's gone, it's gone. And so
that does kind of compress everything to be more balanced, even with some of the crew.
Yes, absolutely.
Stuff,
a lot of the more powerful stuff that was in 1.0, for example, turrets, regen. Towards the end of 1.0 was missiles and stuff for that, bombs. A lot of that has been corralled, if you will, or pulled in a little bit. And not say it's not good. It's still good. It's still very good. But it's.
I'm gonna speak for BJ. And at the end of 1.0, you didn't have to be a good pilot. You could fly a turret ship into the middle of everybody and shoot whoever you wanted to. Some of the mechanics that they've introduced in 2.0 have cleaned that up, where you are having to be a better pilot and to make decisions in advance to get yourself in a advantageous position to take your shot.
And rewarded for being a better pilot too, because the new what's that called? The
Bullseye Arc.
The Bullseye Arc. So if you're a really good pilot, you can line up your shots even better and get bonuses for lining them up perfectly, as opposed to being here. That bullseye, it's pretty much straight on, right? If it's dead on.
It's essentially the width of the maneuver template.
Yeah, it's just the width of maneuver templates versus 45 degrees or whatever it is, but just that little tweak.
Well,
it's nice.
And you got to keep in mind, Andy and I are very competitive players. So we're speaking from a competitive standpoint as far as when he says you didn't have to be a good pilot. If you have no desire to get into this game competitively, it is still fantastic.
It's still fantastic.
Yeah, that's true.
And fun game. One of my favorite parts about this game is introducing new players to it. And just bottom basics. I got into it because it's essentially chess with Star Wars ships.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to outthink somebody and make decisions that. Keep in mind, most of the stuff that we're referring to, you're hearing from two competitive players.
Yeah, when I was introduced to it, like the downside of 1.0 is that there's so much new stuff when you jump in that you just get your hair gets blown back. You're like, wait, I got pushed the limit, but then I also got this, and you're having to keep track of every single thing on every ship. Now you still have that, you still have upgrades on each ship, but I feel like it's been more streamlined for the fact that you can. It's just. Honestly, one of the things that helps to me is just the card size alone. I know older players like the smaller cards because it fits better, but just seeing this in front of your ship, I see it better than I would have seen one of the little cards and go, oh crap, I forgot I could have. Can I go back and do that? No, I can't do that. Oh, I just lost the tournament, which I didn't lose the tournament for that reason. But you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't play. But yeah, that same kind of thing. But it harkens back to the whole point of what we're saying about this and why it's so important is that when you have a game that comes out in 2014, 2011, something like that's an older game. And every year
12, right?
12, yeah.
12, I think we got in 2014.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe so.
Right? Wave 4? We both got in Wave 4.
Wave 4. That's
so
probably,
that
I want to say 2012 was
that's probably right.
So when you're having a base game come out and you're having stuff come out every 6 months to a year for it, you're going to get bloated. Whereas if you take everything that's come out and go, okay, let's build rules that work for all of this instead of going, how can we fix the rules or even not fix the rules. How can we make this new rule work with the old rule and still make it competitive? Now that's kind of what the whole point of 2.0 is, and that's the beauty of it. There. So that's pilot cards, that's upgrades, anything. But as we got charges on those, anything really different about upgrade cards and things besides the charges and the size and things like that?
No, nothing that I can think of right off the top of my head.
No limits or anything like that would be there otherwise. It's still the same kind of thing.
I mean, everything is still basically the same.
40-point list or
the pilots have certain upgrade slots, which you'll also notice is missing on these cards at the bottom. These have upgrade slots.
That's true, they did. Yeah.
So that's something that they're going to manage. But all that's on the app. Everything's basically the same when it comes to squad building. You have a couple more abilities that you can use, hence the force and stuff like that. But it's new, but it's essentially the same.
Right.
Which is
it's very much the same game. They've just streamlined things. They've cleaned up mechanics.
Is it easier to get into 2.0 than it would be someone jumping in 6 months, 8 months ago into 1.0?
I would say yeah.
Just because the quick builds and things like that.
The quick builds are very nice, and I've talked to a lot of players who really like those. So Fantasy Flight actually, as they started releasing the wave or the new core set and the upgrade packs, have started releasing quick builds, and so that they've gone in and developed lists for beginner players, so that they're not having to stare at a deck of cards and try to figure out what do I play.
That's what I do. Hey, can you help me build this list? Yeah.
And like I said, we've talked to some newer or players who haven't been in the game very long, and they really like those.
It's good to have any kind of cohesiveness with the team versus like, that looks cool. Look, look at that reflection in red and green. I'll use that card. It looks cool. Versus like, what does it do?
I would absolutely say if it's something that you've thought about and you never really wanted to jump into X-Wing because of the amount of stuff that was available and if the competitive scene kind of scared you, I would definitely give 2.0 a try. I know my very first game with 2.0, I made it as simple as possible. I put ships on the table and didn't have a whole bunch of triggers to remember. I just wanted to get back to flying as opposed to squad building, which the game essentially became. You won or lost the game.
Yeah. Well, then it's all metagame at that point, which is kind of like Hero Clicks and stuff like that. It's all metagame.
You didn't necessarily win or
fly.
lose, but you still had to fly. There were still some things, I highly recommend 2.0.
I think it's a good jumping in point. Right?
Absolutely.
Even from a competitive standpoint, everyone's on level ground.
Yeah. And you can find players who want to get out of the game because of a new version. So you could probably pick up a collection off of a secondhand site fairly cheap.
Which is important to mention. Kind of the main kind of elephant in the room about this. This is essentially what you're paying for. This idea of this wonderful painted ship, but not so much, because if you have a collection already, the budget is much higher to upgrade than it is me going, I want to play as Luke and Vader and Han and these few ships. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you guys, the kind of the junkies, not really junkies, but the guys who played a long time, you know what I mean? Upgrading all of your ships with keeping the plastic from your old ships is, how much would you say roughly retail?
Well, I mean, mostly
If you got everything.
Well, for someone like me, I owned every ship in the game except for one.
Which one did you not have?
I didn't have the Epic Gazanti
Oh,
class.
yeah.
I had that.
No, is that the Scum one? No, I think I had the Gazanti. What's the Scum one? Sea Rock. I didn't have the Sea Rock.
yeah.
That's the only ship that I did not own.
So you're not a real fan, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not a real fan. So I've invested a lot of money into this. Sorry, sweetie, I love you very much. Thank you very much for that. But when they first announced it, I was kind of upset. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
I had invested so much money into this. But when I started talking to other players and essentially all this other stuff, we're essentially getting a new game for, what was it, like $150 for all the conversion kits.
Yeah, you're between $150 to $200. So
that's if you had a prior collection.
So if you had a prior collection and had everything, we figured it up to be about a 10% tax to stay in the game.
That's a good way to say it.
And so I quickly changed my mind. And one of the things that I like about this, and I think Andy's kind of on the same page, is each faction that they have now. When 1.0 finished or ended, there was Rebel, Scum, Imperial, and then they had Resistance and First Order thrown in with Imperial.
Those are just subsets of those.
Subsets, yeah. They have completely separated all that. So there's currently three factions. There's Rebel, Scum, and Imperial. And then First Order will eventually come out. They'll have the conversion kit and more stuff for that. And then Resistance from the new movies, 7, 8, 9, if you will.
They're their own.
Each one is so different. They're so different. Yeah.
Okay,
First Order will be its own faction.
That's good. Okay, I like that.
Resistance will be its own faction. So you can't fly Poe Dameron next to Luke Skywalker.
Which makes sense. Luke was a bitter old man who threw his lightsaber and milked a sea cow.
I'm talking about young Luke Skywalker.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, essentially. But
a little bitter.
And they've also announced that we're going to get prequel factions.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm excited to see a Naboo fighter on the table. That's a pretty looking ship. I went 1999. I went to the first movie at midnight, 6th grade, and I saw it. And at the time, I loved it. It didn't bother me that Jake Lloyd said, "This is pod racing." It didn't bother me at all. Now, looking back, I go, that was a lame line. But it was a cool looking ship. I'm not going to lie. And every time we go to like Disney or something, you do, what's the one, Star Tours? Yes. It's still cool to fly in Naboo. Come on.
Yeah. Everyone played Rogue Squadron on 64. Exactly. And everyone got the Naboo Starfighter.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So going back to should you get into it, that's another aspect of the game that I like. If you're only interested in flying for the Empire, you want to fly Darth Vader's ship, you want to fly TIE fighters, you want to fly TIE bombers, you can get in with just that, and you can fly competitive squads, you can have fun, you can do everything. But flying Imperials is completely different than flying Rebels.
Yeah, I like that.
Flying
I like that.
They've really separated the factions, and they're going to continue to do that.
The play style.
Yes, the play style. Yeah, like it's just they've made it.
Well, on that note, let's look at the components. Look at some of the dials. Look at some of the new stuff, and take a look from there. This is your basic set of components that you're going to get in your core set here. All of this is from the core set, including that dice. You'll get some debris. Do you get? I'm trying to remember. Is it? There's the difference between the debris and the asteroids and stuff like that. So you get debris, you get asteroids, all that sort of stuff. You also get brand new templates. These are, most people who play the competitive game anyway are having these acrylic ones, but you get these brand new templates that they show. It just kind of gives you a heads up of all the new types of things that weren't in the first edition that you can do with this template. So this is a Talon roll with
Sloop.
a sloop. That's what it said. Yeah, it's an absolute with that template. So it's on there already, and then you've got your barrel rolls and things like this that are on the one. But also you get these little hash markers on the side. This is the barrel roll has been
Barrel.
updated. Is that right?
Yes,
So tell us
yes.
about how they update real quick before we go into this. The barrel roll has been updated.
All right, so barrel roll, what you're allowed to do is to.
Come back this way a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine.
So with a barrel roll, what you're allowed to do is you now place the template. You line the line up
There's little white lines along the base.
with the hash
hash
mark
mark, yeah.
on your base, and you're allowed to move your ship side to side, and you're only allowed 3 positions: back to the template, side to side, front of the template.
So essentially, your hash mark, the hash mark is what matters. The hash mark has to go even with that line. It has to go at the very front of the template, or the very back of the template. So essentially, with the small bases, it's
What stops you from
It's-
basically moving an entire base
yes.
forward, right? Or
So,
back?
so
Yeah.
for example, just 1.0. If I said I wanted to barrel roll in 1.0, I could have put my template here to the front to start with, and I could have barrel rolled all the way forward and put it anywhere in between
Yeah.
here. Now the rules state I have to start on that hash mark. When I move, that same hash mark either touches that front or that back, which is kind of awkward when you do medium to large bases. But
Yeah, it's true.
But it
Oh, it tightens
eliminated
up.
the wiggle room that you could use to your advantage.
Yeah,
So-
that's good. That tightens that up a little bit. So basically what you're going to do is on your turn, you're going to get your dial here for each ship. So this is Luke's dial, and now the dials look a little bit different. They have a lot more maneuvers on them than they
You
used
can
to,
actually
pretty much, right?
see every maneuver.
Because the old one was
The
under
old one, you only saw the one that was dialed in under your knots. This
It-
one, you
it
can
looked
see
good,
all
but,
maneuvers. Yes.
Inherent problem with the dials is the fact that they will paper cut you a lot. I've been paper cut a whole lot playing X-Wing in the old way. So you'll pick a maneuver.
So you'll line it up. So if I want to do a one bank,
Which is what we have here.
which is that template, that's what I dial in. You dial that in as a hidden movement for every ship,
So you kind of hide your movements there, which is good. And then what happens?
and then once everything has been dialed in initiative order, which is
that pilot skill we were talking
essentially
about.
the pilot skill, you are revealing, placing the template in between
There's
the
notches.
notches on the front
Yeah.
of the ship,
Pushing
and
in.
then taking that movement.
Yeah, and unlike Armada and even not Rune Wars, but even Legion, this game is very strict about wiggle room on purpose because the whole point is lining up shots and angles. Whereas Armada and Legion, it's not as important where you put it; you're just putting it in a radius somewhere. The whole point is you're flying a ship and the game is in motion. You're just seeing it at a frame at a time per round. So there's no wiggle room of like, well, I think it was here. Is that okay if I just bump it? No, it's like you follow it to the template on purpose. So, which is kind of the beauty of this game is it's a game of geometry, really carefully.
It is a game of precision.
Yeah, it's a game of precision, which makes it really fun. So you do that, and then let's just say you're lined up now on this guy. Movement phase is over. Everyone's moved, and now we go into the attack phase, the attack phase, but whatever it's called.
Engagement now.
Engagement phase.
Yeah. So tell us about this. So we've got arcs here. So this is your arc of fire, basically. If you're outside of this arc, your target's outside of that arc, which a lot of people use the laser pointers to kind of find it. If you're outside of that arc, you can't shoot them unless you have some weird ability that lets you. But for the basic, you can't. There's also that new one we were talking about, the Bullseye Arc. It's these 2 lines that run straight down parallel in the middle, right at a ship. And so if you've got them lined up in that arc, you can even potentially do more stuff. So once you're in the arc here, you then have a range rule. You test and see what range they're in. So this guy is in range 1, right? Because he's in there completely.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't
Or
matter.
he's
As long as it touches
any portion.
So he's range 1. You then look at Luke's card and see what his attack value is, which would be a 3, which is this. It's this red number here. So he rolls 3 attack dice. Then the TIE Fighter himself will look. Who do we have? We got a Black Squadron Ace or Mauler.
Mauler.
So Mauler's got a 3 evade. What happens is Andy will attack, and I'll evade. Well, he rolls first, right? Sorry, I always do that. I always do that, and when we play, and BJ's like, "Don't roll yet." And I'm like, "Oh, "Okay, good." So Andy has 1 hit. I'll roll here. I have one focus. So if I had a focus, I could spend it to. Tell me what I'm doing. I'll cut this part out.
Spend it to change it to an evade. There are actions that you
I'm not going
take.
to cut that out. I totally just forgot.
There are actions you take that allow you to modify dice.
Things like target lock, which is on here.
Target lock, focus, evade. Those things help you, for example, change this to an evade to dodge.
So now, Mauler's home free.
so-
Didn't get hit.
Yes, for those of you watching, we know that Luke would technically roll 4 dice because you get a bonus at range 1. But we're just basically
That's true.
trying to
Yeah,
just show
good
that. So, yeah. So you have actions, all of which are
Somebody
listed.
just deleted their comment
Yes,
right there. I'm like, never
yes.
mind, he caught it.
Actions that are listed on the card.
Which is the beauty of the whole game.
So Mauler Mythil
but
could
it's
have
different.
done an evade, and Luke could have done a focus after he moved. So if Luke rolls, this is a statistically good dice roll right here, like 1 of each.
That's
So
statistical average.
he could spin
right.
that focus to change that. Now, keep in mind, Luke also has force abilities. You can spend force abilities to change dice, and this is the
These are those tokens we're telling you about.
Spend the force token.
and the good thing about these, and I'll show you this, they're color coded. So, like I said, you get force abilities back. So if I spent one, I flip it over and it becomes
Oh,
red,
nice. Yeah, that's
showing
right.
me that I don't have it. And at the end of the round, I would turn one over.
I love the fact that those refresh. Though. That's
Same thing with the
fantastic.
charges. When the charge is used, you don't remove it; you just turn it over, and it's been read. So they've kind of cleaned that up.
I like it, which means that you don't have to go, hey, crud, how many of these do I
Yes,
have to have over here? You just,
exactly.
that's how many you have, and you flip it up.
You flip it.
That's smart. I like that.
So in this example, if he's got 2 hits, and let's say Mythil rolled a statistical average here,
Here we go.
you could spin that evade to turn 1 to an evade, and there would be no damage done. So that's essentially how attacks go. Like I said, Brian here likes to roll dice at the same time because
Because I jumped the gun. That's
and,
what I do every time.
and the next swing, that's not the way it goes because you roll your attack dice, and the defender has certain abilities that will allow them to modify attack dice.
Well, plus you have to decide what you want to do with your attack dice before they roll, right? So
Yes,
yeah,
essentially. So the way it goes is the attacker rolls the attack dice, the defender modifies,
Right.
then the attacker modifies, and then we do the same thing with defense dice. The defender rolls, the attacker can modify, and then the defender can modify. So it's you have to wait and see with dice. Don't roll.
Yeah, don't roll first. That's
At
key.
the same time.
So that's basically it. Pretty much in a round. I mean, there's a cleanup phase and things like that, but that's it. Rinse and repeat. You run around the board, fly precisely, and try to shoot each other. That's how the game plays itself. And so
So the board is it's a 3x3 board.
And don't hit these.
yeah,
It's a 3x3 board in standard play with 6 total debris, whether it's debris, asteroid, obstacles. Obstacles.
That's what I was
That's how
like, there's a word.
everything's a phrase now.
word they added when they added debris, right?
Yes.
Debris.
Debris.
So and those are spread around the field, and you are. It's essentially a dogfight. Just try to kill the other person's ships within tournament play of 75 minutes.
75 minutes of
Yes,
tight anger.
yes.
And if someone slow rolls, you can call them out on it. It's great. One thing I want to talk about, I'm going to show them this dial as you kind of talk through what the difference is now. So you have your red maneuvers, which are things like a K-turn, which is where I think Poe did,
Poe did a talon roll.
He did a talon roll in episode 8, which is the redeeming best part of episode 8. Was
Absolutely.
so good. That part was great.
As an X-wing fan, I went.
He was
nuts.
amazing. He was doing some movers, but you can't do these in real life. Like you couldn't do this in Wings of War because you cannot physically do it because of the gravity and all that sort of stuff and inertia. But that sounds right. But you notice that things like that, those wonky kind of like complete 180 turns are red. So when you do a red thing, it stresses you or strains you, right?
Stressful
So
maneuver, yes.
when you do a stress, what happens when you stress?
You don't get to do an action, so you don't get to modify your dice.
You're shut down from getting these tokens here. Does that include force abilities?
Force abilities are always active.
Okay,
If
that's
you
nice.
have a force charge, you can spend it to modify dice.
Good stuff. If you're stressed, it lasts for how long now?
Until you do a blue maneuver.
Right, until you do a blue maneuver. That's the thing. So that's why these blue maneuvers are on here. I really have no clue why they changed it from green to blue. Is it a colorblind thing?
It's because I'm colorblind and I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, BJ's severely colorblind, so it really was for him. They pulled
They specifically said they did it for colorblind people.
makes
I
sense.
actually did not have trouble telling the difference between red and green.
In fact, BJ
But-
can't see the blue. It's weird. But so are there more maneuver? I'm trying to remember what the top of the dial looked like in 1.0.
So, in general, all of the maneuvers that were available in 1.0, there are no new crazy fancy new maneuvers in 2.0.
Right.
Just ships can do maneuvers that came out after.
Gotcha. Things they couldn't do before.
Right,
basically,
right. So, like for example, the T-65 X-wing had had a specific dial that came out in 1.0 when that ship was released, and that dial was never modified. The only way for that ship to turn around was a K turn.
Yeah.
The way that
T-70,
This is him
the
here,
T-70 Pose
ship,
came
yeah.
out.
Right.
When Pose came out, it had the Talon roll. So if you're curious,
I am curious.
Talon roll, if you would like to know. You can't do it with a 1, but so it would turn kind of like you're drifting, essentially.
Yeah, it's like you're
and then K turn is just essentially you would put it and you would turn around and do a 180. But the Talon roll was, when it came out, it's a very effective maneuver, and so.
Well, because it changes your
Technically,
position
it would
and
have
your
to,
orientation.
Yeah.
You got to go left to go right. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Essentially, yeah. So they just added those.
and they gave, for example, on T-65, they gave it more maneuvers and adjusted the difficulty of maneuvers. So it may have more
That's true.
more blue maneuvers, or and that's for every ship. Just every ship. If the maneuvers were too good, they brought them back down to something more competitive.
Yeah.
And if it was not great, they brought it up or did other things to the ship to make it a little more competitive.
I will say, as a newbie, because I'm still in the newbie phase of the game. I mean, I've played probably 10 times, but I'm still a newbie, of the game. But one of the things that always frustrated me, it looked cool. I liked the way the old dials looked, and even the special dials they made were more like this. But you couldn't see everything. So now, like we said, you can see the whole dial. So for me, when I'm going, crap, next turn, will I be able to do this? I don't have to go back. I can just look and go, okay, yeah, I've got this turn, or I can make this kind of turn. I can go a 3 straight or a 4 straight or whatever, instead of having to hope that I can do that and then just thumb through the wheel and try to remember it. So it's all there, all the information is in front of you. It's a lot cleaner in that sense, which to me is important. Anything else we want to talk about? Components and new stuff? What are these cards here? Is this a new damage deck?
That's a new damage deck.
Oh,
That's
the new damage deck. Again, no little
Well,
cards.
that's a
That's a
promo.
promo deck.
Yeah,
But
so it doesn't. The little damage deck is still little.
I apologize. This is something ritzy that Andy has because he's a pro.
If you pre-ordered
Yeah.
the conversion kits and all that stuff, you got the
This is
awesome
nice.
label. It's got a T-65.
It's got the 65 on there, and
and
it shows where the damage
this
is.
is actually
the damage deck is a lot better.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, let's start with that.
this is a fairly new
Where's your
component.
base set when it comes to this? I've got mine.
They've balanced the damage deck. They've made critical damage, for example.
Yeah, we didn't talk about
on the
this.
dice. You have regular hits, and then you have critical hits. And regular hits, you just deal your damage, and the critical hits, you flip it over. For example, this one says direct hit.
Take another
The critical hits in this game are really, really bad. There were some in the first version that weren't that bad, and
No.
it depended on what squad you built. They.
It was like the robber gets to
Yeah,
take one of your
so
cards.
essentially, yeah.
That's not a thing.
But they've cleaned up the damage deck. There's a lot of different things that can happen. They've also included the number of damaged cards. So, for example, this is Panic Pilot.
Yes, that's what
in the
I was
bottom
gonna
left-hand corner. They have these 2 dots down here, which tells you, hey, there's only 2 of these. So,
One of the things that I really like about the new damage mechanics is for things that
Those look good.
can permanently affect you or that in 1.0 could have permanently affected you for the game. You now have ways to repair those cards,
Yes, that's
which
good, yeah.
is flipping that card face down. So it may be bad for you temporarily for a round or two until you can get to a position where you can flip that card face down.
Yeah, you still have the damage, but you don't have the effect of that damage anymore.
well,
so,
one of the things they did
fire or
on
whatever.
the old damage deck, there would be conditions to repair cards. For example, one of them would say, I don't remember which one it was like, you can flip this card if you roll a hit or a crit.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes variance is not on your side, and it would take 5-6 rounds for you to flip that over. And on this damage deck, it's just okay. Repair this card as an action. There's no variance involved, which is, like I said, it's cleaner. It's much. I mean, if I had to use one word to describe this game, it's much cleaner than it was.
That's good. That's what I like about it. That's what really entices me about playing a lot more, because, like I said, I always appreciated X-Wing. I just was so bad at it. And not because of I played for years and years and was still bad at it, just because I didn't play it enough to get good at it. I feel like there's enough, not necessarily new stuff, but enough streamlined stuff to make it easier for me to even come in and go, okay, I can focus on flying my ship now. Because then, again, with the turrets are even different now. Do you have one of the little spinny turrets? I want to show them that. The difference is because used to, I'd come in with this list that I thought would be okay, and then somebody would be like, 360, and I said, it didn't matter.
Dingaroo.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. And I would just be like, oh, this is good. Look at my positioning, and I'm dead. And just like that. So, but the turrets now, when you put them under do them like this, or how do you do it?
Well, those are big base turrets.
Oh, those are big base turrets up there.
So, but essentially, it would go. So this one right here, this turret base, it goes on a large base. This is a small base, but this is essentially one for a turret upgrade weapon or a mobile arc, which the Sabine Wren ship has or whatever. But so if a ship had one of these, it would have a turret upgrade. Mm-hmm. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Most usually.
Yes.
So it could spin this around as an action. It would spin it around, and if you look, it's divided into 4 different quadrants. And the old one, you just had the front arc. Well, all of the bases have these 4 different quadrants. So this just tells you which quadrant it's shooting out of. Most of your primary weapon turrets, the Millennium Falcon, for example, will have a double-sided, meaning you can shoot out of either arc. I
like that you said Falcon like Han Solo.
Falcon,
I just want to say that.
Falcon, like
Mr. Falcon.
Han Solo.
Han.
So if you notice on this one, this is kind of reddish, I guess, coming from a colorblind person.
That tells you bright pink. It's amazing. No, it's not.
Okay, so that tells you that it has a primary arc. Well, on a turreted ship, there's no shaded section. It's all just quadrants that are all black, and then this tells you which ones it can shoot out of. So in 1.0, it could shoot in a 3 to 60 arc. Well, in 2.0, you actually have to make good decisions and good flying and point your arc in the correct direction in order to shoot down. So turrets are not... They're still good.
Right, but it makes more sense, though, because
yes.
if you think about it, the whole point of the game is you're getting about 1 second per turn. It's in real time. It's about 1 second. Yeah. So if it could shoot 360, that means that turret's just slinging around real fast versus Luke having to go... move the actual turret and go, I got one, and don't get cocky, kid. That's what he said. It's in the movie. But that's turrets. Check this out. Andy has pulled out the new Han Solo, which Solo, by the way, really enjoyed the mess out of Solo. Didn't think I was going to, but I really enjoyed that movie. The new ship here, the new Millennium Falcon. This is Han's Millennium Falcon here. But also, kind of like with the X-Wing with the TC.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
If you haven't seen the movie, Bruce Willis is dead the whole movie. It's amazing. But you can do this. You can remove the pod that involves plot points. We won't talk about that. But then you get more of the traditional clean Millennium Falcon, which was beautiful before it got shot up and fly away. And this
Fort Kessel Ran.
Yeah, Fort Kessel Ran. But I like this kind of stuff. To me, this is just... let's face it, the whole point is that the toy aspect of X-Wing is so high that this is cool to be able to go, oh, now I've got this version of it. And Andy, if I'm correct, there's a card, right, for this actual piece,
so
right?
you can actually fly that as a ship by itself.
Which is awesome. Just flying that around by itself.
You can also have,
oh, yeah. Let's compare versions, actually, shall we?
Or race.
So we have 3 generations right here of Falcons. And only one of them... No, actually, okay, so look, you can even tell in the sculpt quality has come up over the years. So you have blue energy, no blue energy in the original, blue energy in the rays, and then over here, you've got the blue energy, and you've got even more detail, it seems like, in the newer sculpts, and they've done a fantastic job. This one looks dirty and smutty, but these are great, man. This looks really, really good. just the little details. The fact that these are painted ships and the fact you can get a small one for $12, $13 is a steal. It's an absolute steal the way these work. I mean, you gotta put some money into it, but that's it as far as new mechanics, new cards, new things like that. Pretty much, right? Anything else?
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's go. Let's come up and give one last quick final thoughts, and then we'll be done. So that's it. That's X-Wing 2.0 in a nutshell. That's everything you need to know about 2.0. Cost. We talked about cost. We talked about new mechanics. We talked about Andy's super special damage deck. I mean, let's face it, we all can't be like Andy and be amazing like that, but that is a fantastic special deck. Will these be retail eventually or not?
Probably
not.
It looks really good. It looks really, really good. But we talked about all the aspects of even how to play if you don't know how to play. We talked about the ships themselves. We talked about new mechanics. Let's get down to the final thing. And we already kind of talked about it a little bit. You know, you shouldn't get this, but is it worth getting into 2.0 if you enjoyed 1.0? I think that's a pretty basic question.
Absolutely. I gotta say yeah. I got into the game because I like dogfighting. Top Gun is my favorite movie of all time. I really wasn't a big Star Wars fan until I played X-Wing. I mean, I like Star Wars. I don't get me wrong.
Every kid likes Star Wars, but not like.
Yes. But X-Wing really pulled me into the Star Wars universe, and that was
Disney. You hear that, Disney?
That was the dogfighting aspect of the game, and if that's something that you're interested in, then absolutely 2.0 has gone back to basic. I'm a better pilot than you, and
I'm a better list builder.
Yeah,
than you.
And
That's key.
that is exactly what got me in the game in the first place, and I am absolutely thrilled that we're heading in that direction. So, yes, absolutely. If you had any interest and were scared to get into 1.0, do not hesitate to get into 2.0. It is, in my opinion, way, way better.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, it's 2.0. We've said it over and over again. It's cleaner. It's so much cleaner than 1.0. If you enjoyed 1.0 or played it once or twice and enjoyed it, but thought that there was too much going on, it's cleaner. If you even remotely think that you'll enjoy it, sit down and play a game. They've made it a lot easier to get into the game, to just pick some stuff out of the box and give it a shot and just try it out. It's very easy for somebody to just try it out right now. I think that it's in a great spot for beginner play. If you want to play competitively, you can do that too.
Can you get a good competitive team for under $50? If you got the base set and then maybe a couple ships?
Sure,
Ish.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. If you get the core set and 2 other ships, that's competitive.
Let me say this also. Don't hesitate to go to your local game store and see if they have an X-Wing squad. I never played any miniatures, any kind of card game, or anything of that nature.
That's what you're wearing right now.
Yeah.
He's wrapping it up right now.
I had never done that before I played X-Wing. First time I'd ever stepped into a gaming store was to play an X-Wing tournament. The X-Wing community is a fantastic group of people.
They're nice.
And they will help you in any possible way.
Not angry and belligerent.
No, they will.
Look
they
at
will.
you.
Trust me. Most people that play X-Wing are always looking to grow the community, and they will not hesitate to show you how to play. And so, please, if you're interested and you're scared to take that step, don't be, because I know me personally, and I can speak for Andy. We are always willing to help anybody get interested in this game because it is a blast.
Good stuff. Last word to you, Andy. Great. Awesome. No, I'm just kidding. But that's it. I mean, really, if you have anything else, leave in the comments below what you thought about what we're saying. If you disagree with me, I'll give you their personal phone numbers. You can talk to them and tell them about it. But
I'll be in the comments.
That's right. Oh, really? No, it's not a twin. He really is 2 people. Yes. It's a bit of an inside there, but that's it. That's X-Wing 2.0. I know that I'm going to start playing X-Wing again, just casually, just because all the tools have been made available to play in a very easy and simple way to make it fun to play again, versus I have no clue what I'm doing. Sometimes I felt like I was in a math class where I was like, Can you just go over that one more time? Because I don't think I understand at all what you just said. And you're like, no, just focus this and do a target lock here. And I'm dead. Why don't you just kill me now? Okay, I'm just going to run off.
You don't have to buy anything because we.
That's true. That's the other good thing. Got a full cassette, so I'm loaded, man. I'm good to go. But that's it for the for the latest retro here. Brian Drake on the Dice Tower. Check us out on Twitter at The Latest Retro for more. Make sure to check out the link below here for all the different videos we do on the Dice Tower. You can see everything from Lovecraft, Mansions of Madness, all that sort of stuff to light, fun kids stuff. And so until next time, that's it. We'll see you. That's all I have to say. Literally, that's it.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is